Hello, today is Thursday, February 11th, 2021. Let me turn that on. Yes, that'll work. Oh, God, that's awful. Okay, let's not. Yeah, okay, let's just do this for just a minute while I get the actual thing set up. Sorry, I have to load, that intro sequence, that pre-stream intro is a, like, Unity scene, and I need to, load a different Unity thing. I need to load a different instance of Unity, and I should probably get better at switching between the two, but since Unity is back up, okay. So, we have been working on this game here. So the mechanics we have so far is that these planets here rotate around the sun, rotate around this sun. We can select them. As you can see, if I left-click this, I get a little Planet A nameplate here. The planets have a certain ship capacity and ship type. So these ships spawn from the planets. This is a temporary measure right now. Eventually there will be some UI where the player can click that and spawn ships. So we can left click to select ship, we can right click to tell it to move, we can click another ship somewhere, and click to deselect them. So yeah. Have that. We also have the concept of a team. So some ships could be, you could have enemy ships that can't be selected or can't be ordered around by the player. We have stuff like that. But the first thing we need to do today is we need to design some UI. So I'm going to go over how I design UI. I use Inkscape for that. Inkscape, if you're not familiar with it, it is a vector art editing program. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into document properties and just not show the page border. I don't want to do that. Yeah. Vector art is really cool because it scales basically indefinitely. So we can set the, oh wait, I don't want to set the X and Y. I want to set the width and the height. So I'm going to set the width to, 1600, and then the height to 900. You don't have to do this. You could set it to 6 and 9. But yeah, it doesn't really matter because vector graphics can scale indefinitely. So we're going to set the, actually, maybe I do want that at 6 and 9, or 16 and 9. What does that look like at 16 and 9? Let's double check. It's been a while since I've done this. And we set this to 1. Wait, that's way too much. No, okay. Gonna have to do some work here. Okay, let's set this to 5. Yeah, that's good. So that will be our screen. So the first thing we want to do, we're going to have our little sun in the middle somewhere. So let's just represent that. Yep, sure, that is, well, yeah, sure, that's the sun. And then we will have some other things. We will use, I guess, blue for the planets. Something like that. Yeah, sure. Nope, that's not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. Yeah, so we have our little sun, we have a planet, sure, we'll have another one. Something like that, sure, okay. And what we want to do is, whenever we click on a planet, we want some kind of UI. Or actually, we want some kind of base sort of UI. So the first thing I'm going to do, I think across the top, we're going to have some kind of indicator. So the I want there to be 2 resources. I want there to be tech and materials. So you're going to be able to build planet infrastructure and things. So I'm thinking that ships themselves are going to cost a lot of material but very low tech, whereas planets are going to cost, or buildings are going to cost more technology but less material. So I think we're going to have that across the top. And we will not have a outline on that. Also want this to be at the very back. Yeah, like that. I think that's roughly good. Something like that. Let's change the color of this, make it a little bit lighter. It doesn't have to be gray. It can be a different color, but right now it's going to be gray. And I'm going to have a little thing here, a little circle, that's going to represent the icon for it. So that will represent tech, and then we'll have another one for materials. So I want the text here to be, say that the maximum number of materials is going to be like, I don't know, 4 digits, so 9999, and that should be good. We can grab this text and we can stretch it out a little bit so that it's the right height. Okay. We're going to, whoops, I want to grab both of these, Control C, Control V. I'm going to move that over. It doesn't matter which one is which, we'll figure that out later. And then I suppose we'll have across the right side here, we'll have like the fleet manager. That'll be kind of a sort of bonus goal. I don't know that we'll actually get to doing that, but if we do, we might as well model it out, right? So the idea is that each planet is going to have an entry in that fleet manager, and then each ship will have an entry. So we'll have that, and then we'll have some text here. That's, nope, I don't want to do that. I want to grab this, I want to move it all the way over here. I wish I were more adept with Inkscape, but I'm not, so you have to bear with me. Call this, I don't know, Planet A. And this be over here. And then each ship in that planet is going to have its own little entry here. Kind of thinking like Stellaris or Sins of a Solar Empire, if you've ever played either of those. So have the planet, we'll have ship 1. And I'm intentionally using ship 1 and planet A just to sort of, you know, I'm intentionally using 1 and, or numbers and letters in different places just to make it a bit clearer as to which ones are planets, which ones are ships. Whoops, that's not the part we need to erase. We need this to be ship 2. Have something like this, and then additional planets will just have, whoops, additional planets will just have additional entries. Nope. Yeah, again, I wish I had more skill with Inkscape, but I don't. Yeah, put that down there. That shouldn't be too hard to make. And so the idea is that clicking on the ship here will center your camera on it and select the ship. And so we'll have that kind of running down the right-hand side here. And so now whenever you select a ship or something, I think it's going to appear, I think its details are going to appear in the left-hand side, the lower left-hand corner here. So we will just not duplicate that, we will select that and duplicate it. And we're going to put this maybe right here. I think that'll work. And I'm still not sure if I want to attach it to the side. Actually, I'm sure now I don't. I think that might work. That'll probably work, right? And so normally we had this in the, or right now we had this in the upper left, but we're going to have it in the lower left now. And it's a question of whether we want it to run across the bottom of the screen or if we want it to run across the left side of the screen. I'm going to just say we want it to run here because I think we're going to have more properties that are listed vertically rather than ones that are listed horizontally. And I think it'll just make more sense to do this. So we're going to have to create this multiple versions of this. So one is going to be for things that have no interaction. So there's going to be one for like the sun. It's not going to list anything. It might just have like a text description or something. Then there's going to be one for planets, which are going to have their own information, things that they can build, like the various ships they can build. And let's think about this. Okay, so the whoops, what size is that? What size text am I using right now? We are using size 20. Let's use size 40. Okay, or let's not. God, I hate editing text in this. It's not a text editor. Oh my god, I'm gonna just murder this thing. Alright. Set this to 40. There we go. Then we say, for let's say the sun. Oh god damn it. Nope. God. I hate editing text in this. It's just such an awful experience. Alright, you know what, fuck this. We're just gonna do this. Yeah, screw you. Screw you, Sublime. Or not Sublime, screw you, Inkscape, we're not editing text in you. Alright, so sun, we can get rid of that. And yeah, that's fine. Say the sun, and then, it's gonna have like the description. I don't know, maybe some background lore. The planets, those are going to have ships that can be built. They'll have the upgrade listing, upgrades, maybe buildings. Maybe we'll have multiple tabs on that, on the planet one, so it'll be like upgrades, buildings. And then, what else did planets have in the original version of this? I can't remember. So I knew they had upgrades, they had ships, they had... okay, won't matter. So planets, and then there's ships, which have their stats, which is like the health, the ammo, the weapon information, like damage, stuff like that. So yeah, then there's that, and then there's like resource nodes, like I'll just say asteroids. Like asteroids, and those will have like the resource amount, etc. So the idea is that you get materials from like mining asteroids, and you get technology from destroying enemies. So there might be some like derelict enemies that kind of hang around that you can destroy at the beginning. So yeah, that's what we'll do. So we need at least 4 versions of this then. So the first one is the sort of just, it has lore type of version. Like it has a description and that's it. Copy paste this, move it over to here. So this will be maybe the sun or something. I think we're going to have room for like an icon. So we'll have like the sun, the icon for the sun be like right there or something. I think that'll work. Call this like a non-interact, or we'll call this, I don't know, soul, I guess. Sure. And that's just the sun. Then here we will have a description. What is the lorem ipsum? Look for lorem ipsum. Sure, I don't actually care. Can I just have lorem ipsum text, please? Please? Literally no one cares. Yeah, we only need about that much. There we go. I want this. Oh, god damn it. God damn it, I really hate the text in this. Alright. Sure. Nope. What I want to do is I want this down here. Yeah. Alright. That should be fine. I don't have the L in lorem ipsum. Lorem ipsum. Yeah. Yeah, we'll figure that out later. But that will be one thing, and I think we can create a group of that. Yeah, alright. Let us Control C, Control V. Put that out here. We'll create a group. That way I believe, yeah, whenever I select one of these, I get all of it. Perfect. Alright, so this will be, we will edit this one. This will be the planet version. And I want this to be like that color? Sure. It'll just be an image of the planet. Say planet A. Planet A. then we will not need this. What we will want is we will want a couple tabs on this, Control C, Control V. We want those tabs to be recognizable, so I'll have this be here. Have maybe a little content pane like this. And then we will Control C, Control V. Then we will have, let's say, a tab up here. I don't want that to snap there, I want that to snap there. Yep. Go up a little bit. Can snap to the top, perfect. Alright. Maybe about there. And maybe about, we'll have it be here. Then it'll be slightly darker, I mean ever so slightly darker. Okay, looks like that's the color, and then that's the background color, okay. Sure, we'll have it be lighter, I don't know, it's fine. That'll snap there, and then that will snap there, and that can be slightly lighter as well. Okay, so those will be our tabs. I'm going to say, whoops, what was it? It was ships. Ships, that needs to be 40? Yeah, 40. We will put that there. Then I'm thinking there's like a buildings thing. Building. Buildings. We will scale that down a little bit so that it fits in the actual, in Unity itself we can find the correct sort of UI scale. And here we will have, I guess, upgrades. Upgrades. Yeah. So the upgrades tab will be for upgrading the various things, you know, the various parts of the ship or whatever. Not the various parts of the ship. Yeah, the various like attributes of the ships that that planet can create. And I'm not too worried about the internals of this. I think it'll become more clear later. So I'm going to put that over there. I'm going to group that together. Then the next thing we wanted was for ships. Okay, that's basically the same as the planet, but just with no tabs. So yeah, this will be the ship one, and this probably needs to be like a square or something, just to indicate that it's like an icon instead of a little rounded icon. I don't know how to say that. Nope. 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 I want that one. Yep, there we go. Alright. And I hope that the rain sound is not coming through on this, because it is raining outside. But I think the filters that I put on my mic might actually strip that out. So this will be ship 1. Then we can get rid of all of this. And then I guess the first thing we will have is like a health bar for the ship. And so the base color would be like red, and then you'd have like the fill color be green, or some other color, I don't know, doesn't have to be green. We'll have it be green for now. And so let's see, we select both, and then we scale that down a little bit. So I guess I'll put it like right there. No, actually, what we'll do is we'll put that there. We'll have it run all the way across. And we will have the text up here. We'll call it hull. Then this will be at size 40. Yeah. There we go. Be right there, and then probably want to actually make that a little bit thicker so that we can fit some numbers on it. Whoops. Nope. Nope. Like that. Alright. And we will Control C, Control V, and then we'll put the actual, should put it to the left or to the center. To the left is probably fine. Let's say the max ship health is probably 4 digits, so 999 of 999. Alright. And then the stats will be enumerated below that. Maybe we don't need to copy that. So each stat probably going to have like an image associated with it. So I will grab this. So it'll have an image, it'll have a name, let's call it, I don't know, speed for one of them. Yeah, speed. And then across off to the side, it'll be the actual value. So we'll say that the maximum stat value can be 4 digits, sure. Just to match the health, so that health itself can also be a stat. Okay, and then we will have, you know, multiple of those. So I guess we'll say like speed, armor or something. Sure. Armor, and that could be 999. And then below that, I think we'll have some listing of weapons, which we can deal with later. Again, I think that'll be more apparent as we continue, or whenever we get to that point. I think it'll be more apparent what it needs to look like. So we go to Sublime again. Yeah, we have the asteroids. That'll just be the resource amount. So for this, we'll just get rid of that. We'll just get rid of that, and that, and that. And then we'll get the icons back. If I double click into this, no, I'd have to ungroup it. I don't want to do that. All right. Just create little asteroids myself. Sure. Sure, they'll be that color. That's what color asteroids are. Surely. Yep. And yeah, just create that. It's our little asteroid field. Say like asteroids. And it doesn't have to be asteroids, it can be something else, but we'll just call it that for now. And then we will have our like mineral value or material stat or something like that. Call this materials. Yeah. All right. So that's what we'll do for the UI. So depending on what you select, it'll pick one of those things to display. The fleet manager we will do a bit later. Trying to think. Since this is wave-based, there will probably be, no, let's not do that. Since this is wave-based, there will probably be like a timer till the next wave, so we'll put that in the top right. Say next wave. Next wave. Probably need some like information like which wave it is, stuff like that. Actually, this can all be in the same text, right? Yeah. So 0000, so it's not going to go higher than a minute or something. Yeah. All right, I think I like that. So I want to export this. Let's do a export, and then we'll export it to my desktop. Oh boy, let me move this to a different place. Yeah, that's fine. And this will be UI mockup. Yeah. All right. That needs to be exported as, or sorry, it needs to be exported with a 1600 width and 900 height. So we export that. All right. Let's go into Unity here. And then let me go find that on my desktop. It's right there. We will import that. Let's just import it into the assets folder. We can move it later. All right. So this will be the settings presets. Let's say folder sprites. Let's say images. I like images better. It's a little bit more general. Okay. So with the UI mockup, now we can go into our canvas. Can actually do some game development now. Well, some more game development, I suppose. This is the name holder, so now we can put the mockup. We need to change this to a, oops, what is it? Change this, not, oh god, I hate that. Change this to a sprite, and this should be 16, right? As the, no, just make it 1600, it doesn't really matter. Apply this, and now we can put this in the canvas. And since this is a mock-up, we're going to have it, why did that not, so that's a sprite render, but why is it trying to, I don't want it as a sprite though. Did I mess that up? Am I doing, no, this is 2D and UI. Alright, I guess what we'll do is we'll do the UI, and we'll make it an image, sure. Then we'll make it look like this, perfect. Then we'll set the sprite as that, perfect, there we go. Alright, so that will give us a good sort of baseline as to what we're doing. I just got notified of something, okay, that's not important. My hair. Okay. So, now what we will do is we will actually start designing some of this stuff. So the name holder, we'll keep that, but I'm going to put a $sign on it just to remind myself that it is old. Say mockup. And now, I think mockup actually needs to be on top, right? So that it'll render last, or it'll render first. I think that's how we wanted to do that. Alright, so this panel, for now we're just going to turn everything dark and make it slightly transparent, and we'll call it minimalist. That's how that works. So yeah, we will anchor you to the top, and then I guess we'll set the height to 50 as a first guess. Yeah, 50 is usually pretty good. Actually, 50 is too big. Let's say 40. Okay. Actually, 45 because we're going to want some text inside of this. This really needs to be not like this. It needs to be like that, yeah. Okay, and so now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create the resource indicators. And what we will do is we'll create a an empty for this and call this the resource counter. I do want to make this like as generic as possible, just because that's my it's like always my first instinct with this kind of stuff. It's like, oh, how generic can we make this? Can we make it so that we don't ever refer to anything? I don't know. So this is our resource counter, and so we're going to have an image. Where actually is this? All right, so this is going to be 40 by 40 because our, actually it's going to be 32 by 32, I think. Yeah. Not that it's actually going to matter, but it's going to be 32 by 32 just because we'll feel better about it. Just because that's a number that programmers like a lot. So this is the resource, this is the image. I guess the icon, sure, that'll work. Let's create a TMP. Do we need Text Mesh Pro for this? Sure, why not? Might as well. So we'll have this be centered, and we will have it be right aligned. Yeah, because it's a resource amount. So this should probably be about 34, not 36. And I always like to set the what is it? The wrapping to overflow? Not ellipsis, overflow. So we can just set the width to, whoops. This is the, wrapping disabled. Yeah, overflow. Yeah, I always like to just remove the wrapping. I don't know why I like that, but I do. We'll say amount. So if we disable the mockup now, yeah, so we have that, it looks okay. So we will actually, in prefabs, we will create a UI folder. Whoops, what did I just do? Create a folder, there we go. So these are the UI prefabs. And we put the resource counter in there. And then we will just assign the resource counter to some value that we create later. So this will be the materials, and this will be the technology counters. It might be a little squished in there, but I think it'll be fine. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to grab some of the text here. So Control C, Control V, and I want the text to all be basically the same size. We're going to have a counter here. It's going to be 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. That will be the default value. And then we will have a next wave. Next wave. Okay. I think that's fine. So this will be the label. Let us create an empty to go around these two. So just create a panel, and then we remove the background image. And we'll put that at the label. We'll make it centered like this. And it'll be 0, 0, 0, 0. Right. Then we'll have the label and the amount inside of it. Why did that pivot is right there? Okay, that should be fine. So yeah, this is the next wave. Or yeah, the next wave. And then this should be inside this panel. Yeah. So this is the top bar. And this is the next wave timer. And then it has the label and the amount. Alright. So if I disable the mockup now, we have that. Okay. I think that looks okay. Yeah, I like that. And then let us work on this panel. So I'm going to duplicate this top bar just because I want the background panel and I'm lazy. And so we will anchor this to the bottom right here. And this will be the, I guess, like the description or the details panel. Yeah, the details panel. And this will replace the name holder in our HUD manager. So we're going to set bottom right corner to be approximately right there. And this will be 25 at 25. And then the width, let's set that to a guess of maybe 300. We'll say 350, that's probably fine. And then a height of, say, 500. Say 450, that's probably fine. Alright, in game, how do I like that? Let's turn this off. That might be a little bit big, but I think we'll learn to live with it. And of course, we can always shrink it if we need to. So now that we have this, let us duplicate it, and I will create a sort of white internal thing for like contrast. I'll say this was 10, and then I will center this here. We will set the pivot at 0.5, just because it's easier to work with. And this needs to go in here. This is the spacer, I guess, or divider. Yeah, it doesn't really divide, or it doesn't really do any spacing, it does dividing. Okay. Set the x position to be 0, then the x width to be 325. Yeah, there we go. Get a nice little division there. Alright. And now we need some text, so I'll grab the next wave label, copy that, paste it in here, 0 out its position. It's actually probably fine. Yep. Then this will be the planet name. This is not going to be right aligned. This is going to be left aligned because we want the name to stretch out to the left. This will be Planet A. Could also be the asteroids, it could be whatever. This is actually, I guess this is just the title or the name. Sure, that'll work. And let us turn off the mockup. Yeah, okay. So this is the name. And then we want an icon for this entity, whatever it might be. So add a UI, we'll add an image. This will be, I guess, 75 by 75? No, 50 by 50. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, I like that. And that should be anchored to the upper right. Yeah, okay. Okay, so now we need to rewire the UI to actually work with all of this. This will be the icon. So yeah, now we need to rewire our UI to actually work with this. We can get rid of the mockup because we don't need it anymore. So the name holder and whatnot, that shall be no more. Now we will do some programming. The first thing we want to do is we want to get the details panel working. So what I will do is I will turn it off for now. And the scripts that we have data, we have constants, components, UI components, the HUD components, and the HUD manager. What we will probably want to do is we'll probably want to use what's called a facade pattern, or facade, how do you pronounce that? I think it's facade pattern. The idea is that you have a simple or a more complicated system that's is represented by a simpler system. So the idea is that we're going to represent the entirety of the UI to the rest of the program through the HUD manager, and the HUD manager will just delegate its its responsibilities to other objects. So for instance, in this case, we're going to have like a details panel, and then on the onSelect, we'll just call the details panel itself. So I need to rename this actually. F2, Control V, and then this will actually have the, oh no, sorry, we don't need the name holder anymore because we are the name holder. So yeah, the details panel itself will hold the name, and then I guess we will have show and hide. Yeah, public void, oops, public void show. We'll have the game object. This will be for the target that we're showing details. We'll say show details for. We'll have public void hide. And we'll use some kind of adapter pattern in here to actually adapt to whatever we're showing details for. But the name.text for now is going to be the show details for.name. I think that'll be fine. Then in the HUD manager, we're going to have the details panel here. So make this a public details panel. Let's say details. And so on select, we're going to say details.show, and then it's going to be the selected. So show the details for that selected object, and then it's going to be details.hide, I guess. Or do we even need a hide? No, we don't even need we don't even need to tell the details panel that it's hiding. We'll just have this object manage it. So we'll say details.setActiveTrue. GameObject.setActiveTrue. There we go. Probably want to do that after we change all the things. Yeah, that'll work. I don't know. It's probably inefficient, but we'll just do it this way. Can optimize it later. So yeah, now the rest of the program has no idea about the details panel because it's not really relevant for the rest of the program. All they need to say, or all we need to say is on, when we select an object, whatever it might be, HUD manager, do what you're gonna do. And so now all of the code that was calling that originally doesn't have to change. And yeah, we just delegate everything. Oh, that's not good. Oh, that's fine. Okay. We can create a details panel here. We can create a details panel component, which I need to actually name as component. So this needs to actually be details manager, or details panel component, and HUD manager component. Okay, got 2, Control V. Actually, I should rename this with the rename command. There we go. Ditto right here. Alright. Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. Control RR, Control V, there we go. I think that will still compile. I just had to change it here because Unity will be like, I can't find that anymore. Oh, it figured it out. Okay, happy with that. Say details panel component, and then this will be the name. And then the actual HUD manager, that will delegate things to the details manager here, or the details component. So if I did that right, this should still work. If I did that right. Let's click that. Yay, it still works. Okay. Alright. First try. Very happy with that. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to get these, get the top bar stuff sort of working. I'm trying to think of how we're actually going to do that. I'm thinking that we're going to have to add the game manager stuff now. I always hate doing that. Singleton. I always hate trying to mess with singletons. But we're going to have to do it anyway. Because all of the other patterns, which, I mean, I know that you can do, like, I know that you can use, what is it, Zenject to do dependency injection, but setting all that up is just, it's just a pain. I mean, once it's working, it's really nice, but it's just a pain to set up. I mean, it's mainly just because of how Unity is designed, but I mean, there's good arguments for why they built Unity the way they did. It's still annoying though. That's right, what we're going to do is we're going to create the game manager that will manage sort of the player data. That's why we need to do this. I mean, need is kind of a strong word, but we're still going to do it this way anyway. So the game manager component, it's going to have the standard, private void awake. It's going to create an instance of itself, or not create an instance, but maintain an instance. So we're going to have a public static game manager component instance. And we might as well, no, let's not. I was going to say there are certain other things we can do, but I don't want to do it that way. So this will be get, and then that's going to have some crazy logic in it. So we're going to need a protected game manager component. We're going to need instance. It's going to be static. We're going to say if instance, then we destroy ourselves. Elsewise, we say instance is ourselves. And then we say don't destroy on load game object, and if we did destroy ourselves, then we want to return. And then on the get, we're going to say return, or actually no, we don't need any crazy logic here. I'm wrong. Just need get return instance. Is there any reason for this to be? Actually, no, there isn't. I mean, to block people from setting it, but that hardly matters. I guess we can do get protected set. Sure. Oh, whoops. Sure. I think that works. So now we have the game manager component. What was I going to do? Oh yeah, I was going to have the resource stuff. So with the top bar, it's a question of whether we should have a nested sort of facade pattern. I don't think we should. I think we just want a, whoops. I think we just want a resource, what was I calling it? Oh, resource counter component. So for each resource we have, we'll have one of these. They will represent the resource counters. And we'll have a public text mesh pro text. TMP text. This will be the amount. Then we'll have another one for the label. We could combine both into a single TMP object, but I don't want to do that. Have, say, public void initialize. Sure. Nope, not on server initialized. For now, we're just going to pass in a string. That'll be the name. Later on, we're going to pass in like an actual. We're going to pass in something else. It'll be, yeah, we're going to pass in something else. Oh, my power is flickering. That's not good. If the stream dies, that's because my if the stream dies, that's because my power went out. We'll have public void set amount, or no, actually, what do I want to do? I guess we'll say set amount. This will be the int amount. And we'll just initialize this with, say, label dot text equals name, and then we'll say amount dot text equals 0 for the moment. And then say the amount dot text is equal to amount. Whoops. Is it better to do? It's lame, but sure, we'll do that. Does raise the question of what if we go over the cap? Yeah, we won't worry about it. We'll figure it out later. So I think that should be fine. The HUD manager component will have a public void set resource, I guess. Will we have a set resource? How are we actually going to do that? I'm trying to think. There's a couple ways we could do that. We'll just say set. We'll have simple methods for both. We'll say set materials. We'll have public void set technology. And we'll have an int amount for those, int amount for that, int amount for that. And then we will have two resource counters. So resource counter component, have a materials counter. Then we have a public resource counter component, technology counter. Right. So we say the material counter, materials counter dot set amount, and then we'll say amount. And the same thing with the technology counter. And again, the reasoning for doing this is it's called a facade pattern. The idea is that you have a bunch of internal objects inside of one object, and these manage the individual sort of responsibilities, and then the rest of the program just communicates to the facade, which is this HUD manager, what it wants to do. So that instead of having all the other parts of the program know about this resource counter component, it just says, hey, HUD manager, I want to set the materials. Do that however you do that. And so later on, if we decide to use some kind of other component, or we add some kind of animation, or some kind of other crazy logic here, we can do that without having to go back and find all the references to resource component or resource counter component. And then the reason that I wanted to do this is in the game manager. For the moment, whenever everything starts, we're going to set the material. We're going to set the materials and stuff like that. And on the private void awake for the HUD manager, we want to initialize both of those. So the materials counter, we're going to initialize that, call it materials, which, as I think now, the name doesn't actually matter at the moment, but it'll matter later. Just the idea is that we want to pass in some kind of argument, but again, later this is going to be a more complex object. That object will probably have like a tooltip, like tooltip information. It'll probably have like the icon and stuff like that. So yeah, we will initialize both of those, so they should go from 999 down to 0. And then the game manager on start will say var HUD is equal to what is it? It's find object of type HUD manager component. Yeah. So say HUD dot set materials. Say, I don't know, start with 250 materials, and HUD dot set technology to say, I don't know, 100. Sure, 50 technology. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. We'll track these at some other point, and we'll probably have some kind of delegate for calling this setter and getter, but you know, for now, just simple stuff. So I think we just need to hook all of that up. So this needs to have a game manager component associated with it, and this game manager needs to be a prefab. Okay, and eventually we'll make like the UI itself a prefab, but for now I'm just going to leave it how it is. So let's say the canvas, so we need the material and the technology counter. So I went and made this resource counter component a prefab for this specific reason, because we're going to have a resource counter component here. And this is going to be, there is no label for this. I don't know what I was thinking. I do know what I was thinking, I wasn't. Yeah, let's go here. I think that created the links that it needed to create. Yes, it did. Okay. Let's go back into resource counter component. And for those who don't know, if you control click in VS or in Visual Studio, you can go to the definition of something. So if we control click on mono behavior, we go to the mono behavior definition. And I think this is a bunch of nonsense. Is that right? I can't remember. Yeah, it is. Okay, it's fine. So we just get, yeah, we only, oh, this is a, Actually, I'm curious why nothing shows up here. Huh, I'll have to look into that. Oh, it's from the metadata, that's why. Okay, that's fair. But yeah, so if I did this right, then then all of this should, no it shouldn't, yeah. Yeah, we get 2 errors because we are trying to set the values of these components that we don't have hooked up quite yet. So yeah, we have that. All right, so yeah, the materials, which is on the left, went to 250. The technology, which is on the right, went to 50. That's perfect. So now we have this working. If we left click off of it, yep. And if we click here, yeah, we get planet A. Perfect. All right. Okay. So now I want to get the timer working, and I have to think about how that's actually going to work. Because this isn't a resource. Yeah, I have to think about how I want that to work. Where I want that managed, basically. I mean, it could be a child of the game manager. It could be done by the game manager itself. Yeah, we'll have to think about that for a while. I'll just leave it. I think the next thing we wanted to do, or one of the next things I want to do, is fix my camera, because it's screwing up again. Can use that. Alright. Might be Slightly too much. Okay. There we go. I have to always fix the camera. Okay. Thought the light would be relatively constant today, but it hasn't been. Okay. So let's think about this. The next thing we want to do is we want to get the adapter pattern set up. So we'll have the details panel, and then we'll have an adapter for each type of information. I'm trying to think. I still have Inkscape open, right? Yeah. So we have 4 different types of information we want to display. We have ship information. We have sort of like, I don't know what you would even call this, like resource information. And we have just pure description information. And then we have the planet information. So we don't have, well, actually we do have, okay. We have some of the objects for these created, but we don't have the one for the asteroids and the one for the sun created. So we will have we need components for those basically to store their information. So the planet component here, if we go to one of these planets, wherever it might be, so we have the planet component that can store, I think that already stores the planet definition. Yeah, it does. I mean, technically that could store like, I don't like that. I was going to say that could store the sun information, but I don't like that. I guess we can create like a stellar object component. I don't know if I like that name. Coming up with a name for this is going to be hard. Sure, we'll just call it stellar object, because that'll make sense. And that will just show sort of the definition. Or not the definition, the description, if I could speak today. And we'll want that to have its own sort of data. So I'm going to have a new scriptable object here, Control-C, Control-V. We'll have a stellar object definition. Yeah, this will be F2. Grab this, stellar object. Then I guess we'll give it a string name, and we'll give it a public string description. You can see I'm still used to Java, still trying to type in uppercase S for string. It's bad. We'll have public stellar object definition, and we'll say definition. And then on the awake, we will set the name. Actually, we don't need to set the name. What am I doing? Yeah, we don't need to do that. We just need to hold a reference to that. And then I guess we'll create the definition for like resource node. Yeah, resource node definition. And this will have the name resource node definition, resource node. Source node. And this will be the name. Yeah, it'll be the name. And then public string resource name. Say resource name, and then public int initial amount. Maybe we'll just call it amount actually. Initial doesn't really help us here. Then we will duplicate this, Control-C, Control-V, and call it a resource node component. Okay. We have a resource node component and a resource node definition. Okay. And then we have public int amount for the resource node amount, and a private void awake. What we'll do is we'll say amount equals definition dot amount. Okay. And as that amount gets reduced, we'll track what that is over time. So resource node component, I believe, should be selectable. Is that right? It'll be selectable, and that's all it'll be. Yeah, so the I selectable. And yeah, we need to, if you hit Alt-Enter, you can get quick refactorings. And the first one, if you hover over an interface, the first one it will be implement interface. So if I escape out of this, I can do Alt-Enter, Enter, and just very quickly implement the select and deselect stuff. And I think this doesn't do anything when it's selected right now. Does the ship do anything when it's selected? Not really. It may not need to implement those. I think the selection controller does it, so it may not need to notify it. That might just be completely irrelevant then. Yeah, that's fine. Who cares? We'll figure that out later. Same thing is true of a stellar object. Say I selectable. It doesn't have a team and it cannot be given orders. Let's see. So that should be fine. And then it's on the selection controller component. I think this will still allow us to select stuff. Let's give it a try. All right. So what I will do is I will take the, not the planet, well, yeah, I'll take the planet, duplicate it. Actually, the sun itself. Is that considered, where's the prefab for this? It's in, isn't there a way to do right-click, select? Oh, you can do select prefab. Oh yeah, prefab. Prefab. Nope. Select asset? Yeah, okay. I'll just call this a stellar object component, yep. And then in data, we will say suns. We're going to create a new stellar object definition, stellar object. This will be sol. I'm going to call it sol primary sun of the solar system. Just give it a description for now. And then, ooh, actually, the resource node definition, that should not have the amount on it. Actually, no, it shouldn't. Yeah, it shouldn't. The amount should be on the resource component itself. And this should be giving us a, yeah, there we go, it complains. Actually, we still want this, but we're going to have a public and initial amount. And we'll just hide this in the inspector. Yeah. So the initial amount, or sorry, the amount is equal to the initial amount. There we go. Still want it to have the definition so that it can link to the resource. But yeah. So the definition will be the resource node, and this will be asteroid, I guess. Asteroids, sure. Create a folder, we'll say resource nodes. It's called asteroids, it will have the name asteroids. This will be the material resource. And so later on, we'll probably link a resource definition here instead of that. But for the moment, this will work. So we're going to duplicate the sun here. And we're going to move something over here. We're going to move it over here. Let me work in 3D because my brain can handle it a little bit better. And we will unpack this prefab completely. This will separate it from the actual prefab we have. I basically just copy pasted it because it was slightly faster than creating an empty. Call this asteroids. And then we will remove this and we'll give this a resource node component. We also need to put that on the selectable layer now that I think about it. And we'll say that the definition is the asteroids. And then the initial amount is going to be, I don't know, it's going to have 750 materials initially. And for the actual model, we will want to wrap this in a create empty. So this is going to be a model. Call this the model. Yep. And then we will put this here, and then I want to make like multiple little things. So I'm going to duplicate this, call this asteroid. 1, because, we'll have just 1, that's fine. And it's going to be something between like a gray and a brown. And yeah, this will be an asteroid, it's just part of the model. And then we will put this in here, yep. And this will be, I don't know, 0.1, 0.1, and 0.1. It's actually still fairly large for 0.1. I don't know, that would be 0.05, sure. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but it matters to me. Alright, so we'll have a little thing like, I don't know, over there, another little thing like over here. So yeah, that'll be like our little asteroids. And then I think this needs to be centered a little more like that. I think the model itself, yeah, okay. And then I think the collider is a little bit large still. Oh right, this is, okay. This is why we separate the model from the game object. That should not have been scaled that large. I don't know why it was. Now the model is considered at 555. Oh, okay. That's actually fine. I don't know why I scaled the game object. I shouldn't have done that. Yeah, why did I do that? I'm gonna... Hang on, I'm gonna fix that. Because, like... Yeah, I wanna go and fix that. So the way we fix that is we just say 111 here, and then the model we just say 555, yeah, 555. So the thing that we want to do is we want to scale the collider, and so this should have a radius of 2.5. There we go. And the sun itself actually needs to be on the selectable layer. Nope, change this object only, because it's the only thing with a collider. And the asteroids themselves, they need to be on the selectable layer. Nope, change only that object. Then we'll call all of these parts. Then in prefabs, we will create, or we will add the asteroids to the prefabs. Okay, that there. Now, I want to test this a little bit. So let's test that we can select both the sun. Why were we able to select the sun before? That doesn't make any sense to me. Moving the sun off of the selectable layer should mean that we can no longer select it now. Nope, change that object only. Oh yeah, I can't say that. Oh yeah, okay, so we can't actually select the sun anymore. Okay, fair. Nope, change that one only. Yeah, okay, that's fair. So I don't know what we were able to do before. But yeah, we can now select the asteroids. Okay, perfect. So everything's prefab, blah blah blah. All right. And I do actually, are the asteroids in some kind of orbit? They are not in an orbital path. That's good. I want them to be a little bit, I guess I can guarantee that they're not if I put them right there. Yeah. Put it right next to the ships and everything should be fine. Yeah, okay. All right. Now, in the UI, we need to actually set up the adapter. So I think the way that we do that is in the onSelected. So actually there's a couple ways to do this. Let me think about it. Yeah, so this is, so it's in details actually. Details.gameObject.setActive. That's right, in the onSelect. So there is this theory of double dispatch that we could use. I'm not sure if it's a good idea to use it here though. So I guess in theory what we can do is in iSelectable, I believe we can guarantee that when something is selected, we can guarantee that it implements iSelectable. So what we could do, yeah, because in this case we wouldn't need to, well, we need to know that it's a game object. But we could still call onSelect and have the game object set itself to active. No, oh wait, never mind, we don't need to know that it's a game object. So details.show text.name.showDetails4. So in iSelectable, okay, let me think about this. So in iSelectable, we could change this instead of select. What we can do is we can say onSelect and onDeselect, and then we can pass in the HUD, the details panel component. Let's say details panel. And so yeah, this is a pattern called double dispatch. So on deselect, we don't need to do this. We don't need to bother with it. So yeah, that's all we need with on select. Actually, on deselect, we might want to clean some things. Do we want to clean some things? No, we don't need to do that because the HUD, the details panel will know, so we don't need to do that. There's 4 things currently that implement iSelectable. So the first thing is this. And I don't know where it put it. Oh, put it down here. So now what we can do is we can go into the details panel, and we can say public void show details 4, and then we can use a sort of, let's say, ship definition, right? Ship definition. And so we can do this for the 4 different types of definitions. So we can say resource node definition, and actually ship, we can just say ship component. We can say resource node component, we can say stellar object component, and then we can say, what was the other one? It was a planet component? Yeah. And we're going to say ship, and then we will say resource, say object, no, stellar object. Can't say object because it's a reserved keyword, because of course it is. And then we'll say planet. So now what we will do is in here, I think we will say iSelectable. Change this to that. What we'll say is show details for dot onSelect. Say show. We'll say selectable or selected, I guess. And we'll rename this to show details for. Say show the details for the selected, and we'll say selected dot onSelect, and we'll say this. And so what will happen is this will reach into whatever the selected object is, and it'll pass itself in. And then we will call, it'll basically give you a second dispatch. Basically, this is the first dispatch. And then the double dispatch is that in onSelect, we will call details panel. Call details panel dot on or dot show details for, and it'll be for definition, which is our ship definition, which we should have in the ship component, which we don't for some reason. All right, well, yeah, all right. Actually, no, we don't need to do that. We just need to show details for ourselves, right? For this, Yeah. And then this is the second dispatch, and this will link to this instance. And so if we go to, so note that it links to the version, if we have the ship component, right? We're passing in ourselves, so we specify that we want this version of the method. But if we go to, let's say, the planet component, and then we implement onSelect or selectable, sure. And then we say details panel dot show details for this. This one will actually link to a different version of the method. So yeah, this is the first dispatch, and then it goes into onSelect, and onSelect does the second dispatch. And so this pattern is called double dispatch. And so it allows you to have, it allows like a one-to-many interaction, but instead of doing like a switch here, because what we could do is we could do, if we were passing in the game object, so let's say we had like a game object, you know, target or something, target, what we could do is we could say if target dot get component, say ship component, or yeah, ship component, you know, not equals null, then show details for target dot get component, ship component, blah blah blah. We could totally do that, but then every time we add another sort of details panel, we need to go in here and we need to make sure that we add this logic and we need to add this method. And so now you're changing two things at once, which I'm not a fan of. And so with double dispatch, you only need to add the method, and then you need to implement iSelectable, which the compiler will complain at you anyway. So it's actually not valid for us to not write this method. And so it elevates the problem to sort of a compile time. It basically makes the compiler help you, and which is what you generally want. You basically want all the help you can get when you program. So yeah, that is the double dispatch pattern, and it is extremely useful in cases like this. Plus, having switch statements is just really nasty. Also, having like nested if-else is just, if you have nested, if you have like 3 or 4 levels of if-else nesting, or if you have an if-else statement with like 5 conditions to it, you're probably doing something wrong. It's just a general rule of programming. Or instead of doing something wrong, the way to say it is there's very likely a better way to do whatever you are trying to do. But so yeah, that is the double dispatch pattern, and it is extremely useful. So yeah, it can be a little confusing to sort of suss out what, you know, that it's going on or why it's working, or, you know, how it works and stuff like that, especially if someone else has implemented it. It's not always obvious, and that's sort of one of the downsides of it, because there's no standardized naming. So for instance, in like the factory pattern, you know, you have factories and you have products and stuff like that. In the like service locator pattern, you have the locator and you have services. But in double dispatch, there's no sort of I guess, standardized naming. But generally speaking, double dispatch is used for, I think it's compile time, or no, not compile time, it's used in compilers, I believe. And it can be used to recover stuff like lost type information, so like in C++, where you don't have your runtime types, or, you know, they're harder to get to. It can be easier to use the double dispatch pattern. So in the case of, let's say, a details component somewhere. Oh god, lost where I was. It's the HUD manager, right? No, it isn't. No, it isn't. It's the details panel. Yeah. So in this case, the name is going to be equal to the ship.gameObject.name. For now, this really needs to be, oh, not name, name.text needs to be equal to that. This really needs to be the ship definition or something. Or actually, wait. The ship should have an initialize. We need to add an initialize. But actually, the other thing I was going to do is go to the selection control component, because this probably broke in several places. Yeah, okay. So actually we don't need to call deselect anymore because it doesn't matter. New selection we don't need to call on selected. Just need to memorize that it was selected. We don't need to call deselect. And I think target is still on select HUD manager. This is going to have a problem. This should be the iSelectable. Selected. Should be details.show. Show details for the selected. What? Did I? Ah, right. Because the signature doesn't work right. Okay. We don't need that signature. Can use this one. Right. Perfect. And so now we just need to say on select target, and then this is the new selection. And do we actually use the target? Yes. Okay. Or actually, we can just say selected. Yeah, there we go. It's generally better if you're storing a piece of state on an object and you're passing it into a method like this. It's generally better to do the assignment first and then reference whatever you just assigned later, instead of using the one that you put up or using the variable. Technically, they should be the same, but you never know, especially if you're working with immutable objects. So in the ship component, that's fine. So in the details panel, so we should be able to say name.text equals resource dot, not name, we need to do resource.definition.name, because that'll be the name of the resource. And then in the case of, or actually no, that's wrong. It needs to be .resource.definition, or no, it does need to be .name. That's not the name of the resource, that's the name of the resource node type. But I think it's actually, wait a minute, what did I store here? What did I store here? Oh, I stored the resource name. Okay, perfect. That's fine. What we actually could do, we could have some formatting just for some fun. So we'll say this is a resource node and it provides resource.definition.resource name. So now we'll see asteroids and it'll say materials, which I think looks kind of nice. Say name.text is equal to, I guess, stellar object dot definition dot name, and then the name.text here is equal to planet.definition.name. All right. And then we can go into planet component, and there's no reason to rename this. We'll just preserve whatever its name in the scene was, which is probably a little bit better. And so now, in theory, we shouldn't have any compiler errors, which we don't, and this should work. Hesitant to say that, but it should. So right, if we select the sun, something broke. Okay, right, because I didn't set the stellar definition there. Okay. So it's not a UI error yet. It is just a user error. It's the most common kind of programming error. Here, this is set, planets, all of them have their definitions. Okay, perfect. So, first thing, this appears as Sol. That's perfect because it's reading the name from here. So if we go to this planet, this will read as, reads as planet A, which is perfect. And if you look at it in the inspector here, it's actually called planet 1, so it's not reading the name of the game object. The ship, it just reads a spaceship clone because we don't have ship definitions set up here. We also don't have names for each ship individually, which we need to fix at some point. And then this is asteroids that provide materials. So as you can see, the name formatting in here is working. So we are getting our double dispatch to work. And note that I didn't actually have to set up a like if statement or anything. I don't know if it's become obvious yet, but I absolutely hate if statements. I am going to take a quick break because it is getting cold in here and I need to do some thinking. So I will be right back. Alright, and we are back. So I know what I'm going to do now. Let me find the thing. Yes, okay. There we go. Perfect. Turned on the air conditioning. And, not air conditioning, heater. Yes, the air conditioning would be bad. Normally I would get my jacket, but the problem is that my jacket is very light and it throws off the color balance in the camera. And the camera screws up because of that. It's always fun. So, today we are going, or not today, now, for the rest of the stream, which is today, we are going to finish the UI stuff, which I can get to by double-clicking here. Yes, okay. So yeah, the current thing we have is the details panel. What we need to do is we need to have the details panel now show a different, like, internal sort of details panel based on what we are having it display. So for instance, the ship details are different than the planet details. So we're going to use another facade pattern, like a sort of nested facade pattern. So like the internal panel here, we're going to use, we're going to have a facade for that, basically. So the way we're going to do that, we're just going to create an empty that will hold all of the panels, and we're just going to set its width to 0. This will be the, I guess, this isn't really, no, this will be the details holder. Yeah, details holder. And so we're going to have a, well, actually, we don't want the width, we want this to have, let's say, an image. Image, yes. We'll set the image to be the background. And I do actually want this to be like that. Set this to 0, 0, 0. And now let us, oops, if I grab this and move my mouse this way, no, okay. Let's have an internal distance of 10, let's say 50 from the top, that's absolutely perfect. 10 from the right and 10 from the bottom. Okay. Now we can, is it 10 from the right? No, it should be 15 from the left. No, it shouldn't, it should be 12 from the left. Right, yeah, 12 from the left, 12 from the right. And then we'll have 55 from the top. Yeah, okay. That's nice. All right. So this will be the details holder, and we can just remove the image because we don't really need it. And then we will have a copy of this, have a copy of that. This will be the ship details, and so it will be stretched out. It'll have 0, 0, 0. Then we'll have the, let's say, resource details. Then we will have the planet details. Planet details. Then we will have the stellar object details. Okay. And then in the details panel itself, we need to switch between which of these is showing. So we will have all of them be grayed out for now. Actually, just to test that, let us put something in here. What will happen? The name, where did you go? Have you be here and here? Yeah, okay. Have the name be right there. That needs to select from, no, pivot? Local? No? Okay. I don't know why that's selecting from there. Actually, yes, I do. All right. Yeah, just have this be at 0, 0. Say this is the ship stuff. Oops, I have caps lock on, ship. This will just be the label. Label. All right. And we can duplicate this a couple times. We can put each one of these inside of one of these, okay. Rename them to all have the same name, label. This one will be called ship. This one will be called resource. This one will be called planet. And this one will be stellar object. Okay. And we can mark that out, or we can not mark it out, but hide it. Yes, that's the word. And then we can hide the details panel itself. So now we need 4 new UI components. The planet details component. Control C, Control V. Let's just copy that a couple times. Have the planet details component. Have the ship details component. Then we'll have the stellar object details component, and then finally the resource node details component. That's not what I want. I want that. Actually, I'm going to create a new folder and just call this details, and we're going to throw all of these details things in there. Resource node details, yeah, that's fine. All right, and so for each one of these, I need to fix all the naming. Okay, so planet details, I'm going to do that, and then we'll just make this an empty object for now. All right, and same thing here. We will grab the name, change the name, make this an empty object for now. Double click that, grab the name, make this an empty object. If you're wondering why I don't use the new menu to create things, it's because for whatever reason it's not set up right in my version of Visual Studio. So yeah, I can't like create new Unity stuff. Like I don't have the Unity stuff installed for whatever reason. It's just in general, like, yeah, it's really terrible. I don't know why. Oh no, actually I do have the Unity stuff installed. Let's see if this actually works. Oh, okay, never mind. I'm wrong. I'll start using that now. I thought that it would have a Unity sort of node to it, but it does not. Okay, so the details panel, right. We'll have a public game object, ship details. We'll have this now. This will be the ship details component. This will be ship details. This will be public stellar. The stellar object details component, stellar object details. A public resource node details component, resource node details, and then a public planet details component, planet details. Then we'll say we'll have a protected list of game objects, which are details components, or details. Just call it details. Yeah. That'll be a new list of game objects. That'll be fine. Why do you not like that? Oh, do I need? Oh, I need using system.collections.generic. Yes. Okay. What we will do is we will say on awake, private void awake. We will say ship details. I don't really like this, but I think it's what we're gonna have to do. I can't think of a better solution immediately. I can think of another solution, but I can't in good conscience say that it's a good one. I mean, we could put attributes here or something, but I don't really want to mess with that. It's just not worth it. This will be ship details, stellar object details, resource node details, and planet details. Planet details. And it doesn't like this for some reason. Okay, the best add list Initialize collection has some invalid arguments. Cannot convert from stellar object component to unity.engine.gameObject. Oh, right. A game object. That's why. Actually, we'll just put the create a details thing. This will be a new sure mono behavior. Nope. This will be details, not panel. Object details. And this is a mono behavior, yep. This will be a public void show details. Details for game object, right? Or is this, I don't think this is right. No, it would need to be parameterized, and we'd need to know the parameterized type. So I actually can't do inheritance here. Oh well, it'll be fine. Say .gameObject. 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 Actually, do we need to do this? No, we don't. No, we don't. What am I doing? What we'll say is public, not public, we'll say protected game object, showing panel. Sure, that'll work. And then whenever we show the details for something, we just say showing panel dot set active false false. Then in the on select, we will say we public void show panel. We'll say showing panel is equal to a game object target. Say showing panel equals that, and then showing panel dot set active true. All right. So we're showing the details for the ship component. What we'll say is show details for, say, show panel, and it's the ship component, or ship details dot game object. Show that panel, and then we will say ship details. I guess. Well, actually, we won't bother with that for now, but we will call the ship details later. So say showed panel, show details for. My brain is starting to melt. Nope. Yeah, resource node details, actually, yeah. Yep, my brain is starting to melt. Okay. Anyway, so we'll say showing panel. All right, is this the thing we can't do? Yeah, that's the thing we can't do. All right. That's what we'll do. I mean, I guess we could just do the if showing panel, then showing panel dot set active false, false. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is the stellar object details, and then we will show for planet details. All right. So now, if I did that correctly, what should happen is whenever we select a planet, we should get the planet, get the word planet inside the details panel, and whenever we select something like a ship, we should get the ship, the word ship. So this is the resource, details component, the planet details component. And then we'll have the stellar object details component. Okay. So that's the details holder, and then here we'll have the ship details, have the resource details, the planet details, and then the stellar object details. Okay. I think that'll work if I did that right. Let's assume. Okay. So here we know that this is a ship, this is a planet, this is a stellar object. Okay, that's perfect. And this is the asteroids. All right, or sorry, this is a resource. Oh, that's so perfect. Okay, well, I'm happy with that. Super happy with that. yeah, we'll now be able to do something depending on whether this is a friendly ship or an enemy ship. So let's double check the ship stuff. If we tell this, which ship is the selected ship? Let's go here. All right, which one of you did I select? I selected you. Okay. So if we make you an enemy ship, we shouldn't be able to give you orders anymore. Right, we can't. Okay, perfect. Yeah, we got the attack command as well. Okay, perfect. Yeah, everything is just working out. I am surprised. I'm always surprised at how well things work out whenever I stream. They just, I wish they worked this way, you know, whenever I actually wrote code for my day job, when I had a day job. That would have been great, but nope. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to have a call in here to say, like, for instance, for the ship. Actually, we can implement the stellar detail, or the stellar object details. We can say public void show details for a stellar object component. We'll say this is the target. Then we'll have a public string, or no, not a string, TMP text. This will be the description. So we can say description dot-text equals target equals, I believe, target dot definition dot description. So now in the show details for stellar object, we say the stellar object details dot show details for the stellar object. And what we probably want to do is we probably want to change this to be like that. That way, showing the panel, I mean, it doesn't actually matter, but showing the panel, like, logically should be the last thing you do, because you want to make sure that the player sees the correct information. So now we show the details. I guess this should be really set details. Call this set details. There we go. And so now we show the panel, we show details for a stellar object. So now, if we go to the details panel, we edit the stellar object details. Let's go over here. We edit the stellar object details. We create this, not create, but we move this to B000. We don't center the text, we don't align it there. The wrapping should be enabled. We should probably set this to 20 as the size of the text. And now, this should be description. Say this object, no, that won't matter. We'll just say description. As a placeholder, this will be the description. And then we will link it in here. And then we will set it to inactive. Set this to inactive. So now, whenever we select the sun, we should get a description of the sun. So if we select planet, we get planet. And if we select sol, we say primary sun of the solar system, which is the description that sol says here. If we name this, you know, sol, I don't know, -1, just to prove that it's reading from the name there, we click here, we get sol-1. So yeah. All right. I think that's everything I wanted to go over today. I think it's a bit too late to sort of start anything new. And yeah, we got the details panel sort of set up there. And all we need to do is basically, God, what am I trying to say? I'm gonna center on the sun. Yeah, So what we need to do is we need to get the panels or the UI set up to work with planets and to work with ships and other stuff, and that's complicated. So for now, we're just going to leave it here. But thank you guys for watching. We're going to be back in an hour and 10 minutes, basically at 1 o'clock Central, or no, not 1 o'clock Central, 2 o'clock Central, for some more Valheim. And we'll be back after that at 11 a.m. Central tomorrow for more Gamedev. So tune in for that. But thank you for watching.